Hello there. My name is Forrest Ollinger, here with Millennial Milktoast number 2. I'm really excited about this video because, as you can see, got a whole new setup. I am thrilled to be talking about the things that I'm passionate about and get to share them with you, which for me is what it's all about, is just getting to share some of that love for physical media, love for the things that I love. I hope that you enjoy them. So in making this video, I wanted to kind of make a little sequel to my previous video talking about shell swaps, case swaps, taking the outer shell of a VHS and changing it to a color VHS. And I thought a good starting point would be to tell you a little bit about how I started with it. When I made my Alien tape, I mentioned in passing that I had done a few before, and I thought I would show you some of the ones that I have on hand. Before I show you those, I do want to talk a little bit about a couple of the ones that I don't have. 2 of them ended up being gifts. The very first one, reflecting back, I think it was the second case swap I ever made. It was for my friend Zach, my co-host on Last of the 80s Kids. My friend Zach is very fond of Godzilla. We actually just recorded an episode about Godzilla -1, and we paired that with Godzilla 1985. This is kind of the relaunch Godzilla for the 80s. It was ultimately adapted into an American version, just like the original Godzilla, and it's just fun all around. Now, even though we watched those 2 movies, one of the cool things that Zach kind of clued me into was a little movie called Godzilla vs. Biollante. This is the sequel to Godzilla 1985. It is a pretty cool movie. It's all about this creature that's like half plant, half kaiju. It's like a kaiju plant, has a telekinetic connection to a young girl that's central to the plot. It's a very creative movie, and it's just one of the best. So I knew that up until Godzilla -1, which I'm pretty sure has just destroyed Zach's tier ranking list because it is so good, I think it skyrocketed to the top. Before that, if you asked Zach, what's your favorite Godzilla movie, and I asked him that one day, and he pointed to Godzilla vs. Biollante. And he mentioned to me in passing that he did originally have a VHS copy of it. It was the HBO home video release of that film. And I thought to myself, well, that would be a cool gift next year. So during the course of my travels, like looking through VHS tapes and on VHS tape groups on Facebook, eventually somebody was selling a bunch of Godzilla tapes, and they had Godzilla vs. Biollante. It's a movie that's actually out of print. There was a Blu-ray. It's no longer available. You can get it on Blu-ray for, a lot of money. It's also available on Laserdiscs, and as you might have noticed, it's also available on VHS because that's the one that I got him. So I got him that one, and I decided to swap it out with VeggieTales, and I think it was Throw Mama from the Train. There's this Throw Mama from the Train, the EP edition, and that edition has a red flap. Not exactly sure why, but there are some tapes that, for one reason or another, were given red flaps. And I took that, and I put the flap on the green tape, and I did the shell swap, and I made him a custom Godzilla vs. Biollante tape. It matches the cover art really well, and it was a really fun project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer, draw you in so that you can appreciate what I'm putting down. The very first shell swap that I ever did was one of my favorite movies, one of the easiest to find widescreen VHSs. I've run into it a number of times. And it is Air Force One. This is part of the widescreen series. That was the very first one that I ever encountered as a young person. In my household, we had a copy of Godzilla, and it was the Roland Emmerich Godzilla, speaking of. And that one had this very large widescreen label. Oh, so it just said widescreen, and we did not know what that meant. My grandpa or my grandma certainly didn't know what it meant. So what happened was, it was bought, And when we watched it, my grandma, may she rest in peace, complained a lot about it, that it took up too much space on the TV, that it was annoying, and I don't think a widescreen VHS would ever be bought again by her. So anyway, this is who is this? I think it's Columbia Pictures? Yeah, this is a Columbia Pictures series. So they had a number of these. They got this really cool universal color font where it's kind of an orange. It's kind of strange. I don't know how they landed on orange as the widescreen font, but every single one of these, except Godzilla, is this shade of orange. And Godzilla, for some reason that's beyond me, was treated much, much more exclusively, and it has green font. I'll show you that sometime. For right now, I just wanted to show you my shell swap. So, this one, I went with the Air Force One color scheme. I figured, hey, it's blue and white. I was going to do red, white, and blue, but I decided that it just didn't work. It was a little too gaudy. So what I ended up with was this pretty slick little setup on the back. You can even see it kind of pops. And I actually watched this recently. The tape is in great shape. Played the movie effortlessly. And I was really proud of it. This is the very first one I ever did. Air Force One widescreen VHS. So, those were the first two I ever did. Later on, after I had done the Biollante one, after I had kind of rested on my laurels, I, on a lark, decided to do a quick and easy one. I was trying to think of one that I could do, I think in an afternoon when I was still just getting better at it. And I thought to myself, hey, I got this pretty cool copy of Vertigo. So I bought a bunch of widescreen VHSs, and I found this copy of Vertigo. Now, these MCA Universal sets, I love these. They are one of my favorite widescreen series because they have this really slick holographic border along the edge, and it just makes them pop out on the shelf. It makes them look special. If you ever collected Pokemon cards, then you know that when you have something holographic, it's even better. It's shiny, as Kaylee from Firefly would say, and she would be right. This is shiny, and by shiny, I mean very good. So all along the side, it's got that shine. It says widescreen VHS. And I decided to just swap out a Nickelodeon. Everybody is familiar with the Nickelodeon tapes. I would argue those are the most prolific color shells. So, easy to find and easy to swap. So, I swapped out a Nickelodeon. I did the whole game with the tag. And what I ended up with was a really slick set that just matches beautifully. I was hanging out with my friend Jess. He was really interested in this whole process because I gushed about it a bunch. And when I was hanging out with him at one point, we were talking about maybe doing a swap together. I could show him how I do it, and he could do one while I did one. And so I had this copy of Nosferatu by Werner Herzog. It's his remake of the silent film classic. I had actually never heard of it until I saw it pop up again on like a VHS Facebook group. Somebody was selling it for like $5-7, and it looked cool. I like Werner Herzog. I said, why not? I bought it. And it was one of the coolest tapes that I think I had for a while there because it had this really beautiful label. I wish I could show it to you, but the label, rather than being, you know, a conventional like thing with all the legal jargon and the name on the top, it was like this artsy sort of gothic design. So it was it was just unique. What was cool was I took my mom along with him and his girlfriend. We all met up to go see the movie Nosferatu, the original silent film, performed live by a group called the Invincible Czars. And what I mean by performed live is it's a silent film. So originally it would have instrumentation played with the movie. And nowadays you just kind of have a master track that somebody has released. Like maybe a particular studio has put out a boutique release or a limited release and they have somebody record a version of the soundtrack. What we had was this experience where we got to see a group called the Invincible Czars, who have kind of made a name for themselves doing this, taking public domain silent films, composing and recording a soundtrack, and then additionally touring with the film and performing the soundtrack live while you watched it. So we got to see that kind of in the way that it's intended. If you get the chance, see the Invincible Czars. They are an amazing group, and it is a life-changing experience as far as silent film goes. You will never look at silent films the same way again. So my friend Jess wanted to meet up and do a shell swap. So I brought another copy of Vertigo, and I showed him how to do that. I was like, hey, here's, your Nosferatu, here's a Barney tape, and they're white, so I figured it would go well because it was in a white plastic case, kind of like those cases I was showing you when we did the alien swap, and we had a lot of fun. He made his tape. He was really excited about it, and I just figured, you know what, that first Vertigo went great. I'm going to do another Vertigo because I got a bunch of Nickelodeon tapes and I just so happened to have another Vertigo. But what you might notice about this one is it's slightly different, which just to me is really shocking that even something as niche as getting a widescreen VHS copy of Vertigo had variations on the release. And so this one is a little bit different. And you know what? I'll put them side by side and you can kind of see. So this one has the shiny. This one does not. And this one I think is fascinating because it has a booklet, almost like a gatefold sleeve, like a record. And this is a pretty cool little set. So if I lean in, you can see it's got like the picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's got the woman. And you can go through, it's got essays. It's got pictures. It's just a really cool little set. I wish more VHSs embraced this little gatefold style because it's really neat. And of course, I did, some surprises. Apply today for Discover Card. Now if I open it up, I'm going to do it. Oh, it's a Discover Card application. It's an entire Discover Card application. Now, according to them, it's no annual fee, cashback bonus award. That's a pretty good deal. Tiered interest rates. You can't afford not to go Discover. Let's look at this other one. It says, win a Vertigo tour of San Francisco. I assume if you apply for a Discover Card. Walk in Kim Novak's footsteps and visit key locations from Vertigo. Brought to you by Avis. It pays to Discover. The Fairmount, America's Grand Hotel since 1907. Mum Cuvier Napa, or Napa. I don't even know where that is. MCA Universal Home Video and United Airlines. If I open this up, it's got an advertisement for the soundtrack, actually soundtracks. Now you can own these newly mastered haunting soundtracks from Bernard Herrmann's most famous scores. You got Vertigo, and Psycho. Okay, a couple different performances of the Vertigo soundtrack. It must be really good. A thrilling offer on Hitchcock's classic thriller Vertigo. An exclusive $5 rebate from Discover Card. Discover Card members, to get your $5 rebate, simply fill out the rebate form and send it along with your Discover Card receipt, store receipt, and proof of purchase. $5. If you bought this VHS with your Discover Card, that's free money. Let's see. Experience more Hitchcock thrills for only $14.98 or less each. And they got a whole slew of Alfred Hitchcock's films. This is from 1997. So this is right at the edge of DVD. I think DVD had already come out, but DVDs really blew up a couple years later. So this is kind of the tail end of I would say the innovation of VHS, and you can really see it. Anyway, let's keep going. Speaking of MCA, Beautiful shiny. All right. So this is Jurassic Park. Everybody knows Jurassic Park. And I wanted to do I wanted to do a simple shell swap with this guy. So I did a red tape. I don't do red tapes a lot, like I did that flap for Biollante, but Jurassic Park seemed to be worth it. So I did a red Jurassic Park tape. I do have a widescreen copy of Jurassic World, or no, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, and I'm thinking that I'm going to do a green tape for it, and they'll kind of complement each other. There's green on the cover art for The Lost World, Jurassic Park, so I'm excited by that possibility, but in the meantime, I just wanted to have some fun and make my own special edition of Jurassic Park. So let's take a look at the VHS tapes that I'm going to do a shell swap today. So these are all Paramount releases, and I was really excited about this because I had two of them. So we have Ghost. Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, Say No More. And we have The Hunt for Red October. These are pretty interesting because I haven't seen any other Paramount releases. I would think Top Gun, being such a big seller, would have a similar release, but it doesn't. And I'll show you what I mean. So if we bust these open, these are already colored VHSs. These are some of the only color VHSs that I've ever seen that were made specifically for the movie that they're based on. You know, Ghost, obviously, got a white cover art, so let's do a white tape. Hunt for Red October, Say No More, red tape. They're really cool. So my goal here is going to be swapping different copies of Ghost and Hunt for Red October. Why am I just swapping out basically what I already have? Well, I'll show you. This was a very strange release to me because we have a widescreen copy of each film, but if you look, the regular release had a colored VHS. Let's take a look at widescreen Ghost. I don't know why, but for some reason, widescreen Ghost didn't rank high enough for a color VHS. We got Hunt for Red October, the widescreen edition, but it's in a regular black VHS. Here, we're gonna put the widescreens to the side for a minute. Let's just admire these beauties. So they did a very similar thing where they made the cover sticker like perfect for the VHS. The red one for Hunt for Red October, this blue and white one for Ghost, and then going above and beyond, I think you might remember I talked about these stickers that go on the side and how I would like to make a custom one. Well, they already made a custom one. Let's see, what does it say? It says Ghost. Beautiful. We even have some Be Kind Rewind stickers and whatnot. Hunt for Red October is no different. We got this really cool red sticker that just perfectly blends in. These are already ripe and ready for a pretty simple shell swap. So that's what I'm going to do. The only trick with these ones is going to be these side stickers. That is going to be a little tricky. So let's get into it. I am going to start with Hunt for Red October. This is a really interesting movie. It's interesting to me because it's like this really popular film from, the end of the Cold War, and it's good. I like it. But at the same time, I always felt like this movie was really boring. Again, I like it. Sam Neill has an amazing role in this film where he's this kind of working stiff that just wants to move to Montana and own a pickup truck. It's very admirable. He definitely gets the American dream. Montana, pickup truck, boom. Life set. I guess they don't have pickup trucks in Russia. Maybe if you work on submarines, you don't get a pickup truck because you don't have anywhere to drive it because you're under the ocean all the time. I don't know. Anyway, Hunt for Red October is a pretty good movie. Started the Jack Ryan franchise, and it's kind of funny. That franchise is super weird. It's 4 films. You got one film with Alec Baldwin as Jack Ryan, which is this one. And then you got 2 films with Harrison Ford as Jack Ryan. I feel like those are the most famous ones. And then inexplicably, they made Sum of All Fears, and that movie has Ben Affleck as Jack Ryan. And no shade to Ben Affleck, I like him, but that movie's kind of ridiculous. It's like, what if somebody nuked the Super Bowl? Which I've never seen it, but there's a movie called Black Sunday that I'm pretty sure is also basically that plot. So not even the most original concept, but whatever. That does have this really funny scene where Ben Affleck is, I think he's visiting like a bomb, people that make bombs or something. I don't know. He's like meeting with some technician, and the guy has a shirt that says, "I am a bomb technician. If you see me running, try to keep up," or something like that. It's pretty funny. All right, so doing my little dance, taking the VHS apart. Here's my widescreen copy of the film. Yeah, these things are pretty. All right. Working with a little less space here because I wanted this cool little table and I wanted you to have a better view of the tapes. So hopefully you can see them better and this is a little bit more enjoyable for you. Now this is going to be difficult. I got to get this sticker off. I cannot move forward because that sticker is keeping it together. So we're going to do this little dance. Sean Connery is a submarine captain. He works for the Soviet Union, and he has decided that he's going to defect, which is kind of funny. It's funny to me because it's like right at the end of the Cold War, so I'm sure it was very timely at the time, but you know, when you look back on it, it's like, well, maybe you should just like wait a year, dude. It's very much a relic of the Cold War, this film. You know, it's Tom Clancy. I like Tom Clancy. He's an interesting guy. I think Hunt for Red October was the very first novel he wrote. He established the whole concept of Jack Ryan, or the character, and that character, you know, kind of became a brand almost for his work. He became a very successful author. He's one of those authors that, like, I like him, but it's almost like he never died because his name became a brand. So now, you know, they have like Tom Clancy's this, Tom Clancy's that, even though he died years ago. I guess infamously you could say he created Rainbow Six, and Rainbow Six is a video game franchise. So, you know, he's made his mark on pop culture in a number of ways, not just with his books, but also with some of the media that was influenced by those books. I really want to make sure. Oh no, what are we seeing here? Oh no. Okay, it's all right. It's all right. No biggie. We just got to pull this off. Oh, goodness. Okay, well that happens. So we have a little bit of a, I don't even know what this is called. Got a little bit of trouble in paradise. So as you can see, it kind of, maybe you can't see, kind of affected the label negatively. That happens. No biggie. That's the price of progress in VHS modifications, I suppose. Putting that on the side there. All right, now I can take the tape apart. Fortunately, I don't have to take the sticker off too. I'm going to be conscious of that when I'm working on the other tape, when I'm working on Ghost. So anyway, it's a whole game of cat and mouse. You know, like all submarine movies are. Like every submarine movie is, you know, it's a pretty formulaic concept. Hunt for Red October is probably one of the better ones. Interestingly, you know, Harrison Ford would play Jack Ryan later on. And then Catherine Bigelow, amazing director. Catherine Bigelow would go on to make a movie called K-19, The Widowmaker, which is also about a Russian submarine. And in that, Harrison Ford has a Russian accent, which is kind of comical. And not to say that he doesn't do a great job. He does his best. But that movie is kind of interesting because Harrison Ford would play Jack Ryan in a movie series that started with a Cold War submarine movie that he wasn't in, and then he would later on star in his own Cold War submarine movie. Incidentally, just this last year, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning came out, and it starts with a submarine sequence, a pretty good submarine sequence, and it was a really good movie. I've never really been a huge Mission Impossible fan, but Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning was a banger, to put it simply. Really, really fun movie. Almost felt in some ways like an Indiana Jones film, in that it was just like an adventure. Like, it had intrigue, international espionage. It had probably the best train action sequence made in a long time. I don't know how else to put it. Well, this is interesting. I'm having trouble pulling this apart. I'm not sure what the deal is. I wonder if this has some type of locking mechanism. Boy, I'm finding out, aren't I? Hey everybody, this is going to be a simple. This is going to be a simple case swap. Everybody look at me, and then I start doing it, and it's anything but. I think maybe Tom Clancy could hear me throwing shade at Hunt for Red October from the grave, and he did me dirty here. He said, "Oh no, you don't like my Hunt for Red October? Well, I don't like your shell swap. How about that?" See, I can't like just rip it out as much as I would, believe me, I would like to, because it's frustrating. It's like they knew. They were like, "Oh, this is a pretty cool VHS tape. We want to make sure nobody can customize this one." There's 5. There's always 5 screws. Yeah, it's a Hunt for Red October, all right. Well, I wonder how many minutes of me going, there's going to be before I give up on this. I'm going to put 1 screw back in, just for safety's sake. Not like I don't really have to worry about it coming apart. Both of those out of the way for a second. I wonder if Ghost is the same way. See, I would have to take the sticker off first. We're moving on to Ghost, because I could not get that open. So, Ghost is an interesting film all its own. I love Patrick Swayze. I mean, who doesn't? I recently saw his To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. It's not as good as Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, but boy, does he try his best to make it as good as Priscilla. Patrick Swayze is just an 80s and 90s legend. Speaking of Catherine Bigelow, who made K-19 The Widowmaker, that Harrison Ford movie. That's a Cold War submarine movie. Catherine Bigelow made Point Break. It's one of the best police movies ever made. It's one of the best action movies ever made. It also does something that some people have touched on that are much more concise and intelligent than me, probably. It does this thing where it embraces the female gaze, people have called it. So a lot of movies, they're very male gazy. So what I mean by that, if you're unfamiliar with the terminology, is like it's all about ogling women. Like, oh, let's look at women for for the fun of it, and that's kind of what the male gaze is. It's very reductive, it's objectifying, and mileage may vary. Some people might be like, oh, that's not a bad thing, but in terms of film criticism, it's been generally frowned upon as time has gone on, because it's kind of lazy, and more importantly, it reduces the agency of women to basically being eye candy. Point Break is funny because it kind of inverts that. It treats the men like they are eye candy in much the same way. Keanu, who has the most 80s/90s name of all time, Johnny Utah. There's some really fun shots of Johnny Utah, and I can't even remember Patrick Swayze's name. Like on the beach, with their abs glistening, and particularly Patrick Swayze. Catherine Bigelow did not miss a beat. She was like, okay, they're going to be eye candy for this audience, whether they like it or not. I've always liked to recommend it to queer friends of mine, like, hey, you got eye candy for days. So, don't sleep on that one. Check it out. I did not mess up this cool Ghost sticker. So, lesson learned. Boy, you live, you learn. I'm still Still a little bummed that I screwed up that Hunt for Red October sticker. And I can't even get the tape open. So we're... Oh. I forgot about the tamper evident movie rental sticker. This sticker I care less about. It might be neat if I could save it, I suppose. I could prove that, you know, if you wanted to, you could do this anyway. If you're like out there and, you know, you're like time traveling to Blockbuster anytime soon, like, oh my gosh, this guy just hacked the system. Now I can go back to the year 1993. I could rent a copy of Ghost. I could switch it out with my grandpa's recordings of Bonanza, do a spool swap, and then I get a free copy of Ghost. Game changer. Oh wow, look at this. I am succeeding where so many probably failed. I have subverted the movie rental company's system. I have their sticker. I have the power. You'd never say to yourself, like, oh, what if there was a movie where, like, a guy died and then, you know, he, like, haunted his girlfriend? It would sound like almost like a Lifetime movie. And that's not to be dismissive. Those movies have a lot of heart a lot of the time. But, you know, it just sounds so sappy. And he's got unfinished business because, like, the guy that killed him is still around and he's seducing his former, well, I mean, she's not really his former girlfriend. I mean, because he's still his former corporeal girlfriend, you could say. But it was early in visual effects time, so like it has, you know, the shadow people, and that's kind of a cool early visual effect. Shadows, they're not ghosts, although they kind of are. Like Patrick Swayze is a good ghost, but then there's also these bad ghosts, and there's this guy trying to, you know, do evil things and get with Demi Moore, and spoiler alert, those things get the bad guy at the end, and then Patrick Swayze is like, deuces, going to the afterlife. Fun fact, I think more fun than a lot of fun facts, is there's a jukebox in Patrick Swayze's apartment, or in Demi Moore's apartment, and that jukebox has appeared in numerous films throughout film history. I'm pretty sure it appears in Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. I believe Whoopi Goldberg won for Best Supporting Actress, and it had Best Original Screenplay. So, good on Ghost. Best Original Screenplay and Best Supporting Actress. Whoopi Goldberg is hilarious in this movie. That is kind of this movie's, like, secret weapon. Whoopi Goldberg plays this young woman who can see Patrick Swayze because she's like a psychic. And Patrick Swayze teams up with her. There's like a scene where they steal a bunch of money from the guy who like killed Patrick Swayze. And Whoopi Goldberg's like, oh, let's keep the money. And he's like, nah, you're going to give it to this charity. And, you know, if you don't see that in widescreen, have you even seen it? So now we just have, we've kind of downgraded this Ghost. Now it's just a regular old, like all the other thousands of them. Except it's kind of mislabeled. I should probably just cross out widescreen. Not that it really matters, but I feel bad if somebody picked it up and was all excited. Oh my gosh, it's a widescreen copy of Ghost. And then they put it in and they're like, this is pan and scan. Alright, there we go. Alright, Ghost is done. I'm going to take one more pass at this Hunt for Red October. There's just like a piece of plastic that's like maybe a clicky type piece of plastic. Let's see if we can get it. Because we're so close. We are so close. I suspect that there is just a piece of plastic that clicks. What is holding you together? There's like something up here. Huh. So you see this hole right here? This is what's holding it in. How do I do this? But I have this like little tool. Darn it. What about this? This might work. Nope. I have to wonder if it's been, if it was sealed. Okay, look on this end. Huh. I'm pretty sure it wasn't sealed. It's like really stuck. I wonder if maybe I just applied just a smidge, and I mean a smidge, of heat. Maybe that'll free it up. I don't think it's gonna happen. Well, them's the breaks. I'm gonna put the Hunt for Red October sticker back on it. Put the screws back in. I'm pretty sure that with age it just it's that little center thing. Alas, another time Hunt for Red October. Okay, oh, this is the whole flap debacle. There it is. Oh, okay, thank goodness. I was worried that flap was going to be a problem, but I got it back to where it needs to be. So yeah, that little spring, there's a little spring right there. It can be a bit of a brat as far as putting this stuff back together, but there it is. All right. Well, you know what? I can still watch Hunt for Red October in glorious widescreen, or I can watch the limited edition red pan and scan. So, all good stuff. I do not know what is keeping this Hunt for Red October tape from being what it was destined to be. You know, a deluxe widescreen edition, but for the time being, you're on the back burner. You're on notice, Hunt for Red October. You've disappointed me more than words can express. Well, all right. So that was a fun little experiment. In the end, we achieved half of the goal. So here we have it. Widescreen Ghost. White. With all the rental stickers. Including, here, let's put that rental sticker back on there. Tamper evident. Ha ha ha. So you say. All right, warning. If that was tampered with, you would have to pay retail for it. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to making more content, and I'm looking forward to getting into some movie reviews and talking about some of the stuff that I have in the pipeline, some of the projects I've been meaning to work on, and getting to film them and share them with you really gives me incentive to do so. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.